The adrenaline is rushing, the fans are cheering. Being on the sideline, when I'm at work, it doesn't feel like work, covering sports, and this is something that I could see myself doing for, a long time. A team physician is a medical provider who has specialized training in sports medicine, and that training allows them to develop the expertise in providing comprehensive care for the athlete.
It's really a privilege to be a part of their care team and get them back to sports safely. Our merger with ODU has really been a benefit for us in sports medicine. We now have the opportunity to really care for athletes at the Division I level. Being a team physician is just one part of the care team. We work directly with athletic trainers who really know their athletes the best. We work with orthopedic surgeons as well when surgery is required. This is particularly important in a training institution, and so our sports medicine fellows are able to get this experience and go on in their careers and have that knowledge.
The fellowship is a one-year program. Fellows, they get experience in the clinic seeing patients with various musculoskeletal issues in their own sports medicine clinics over at our offices in Ghent and Portsmouth. Outside of their clinic experiences, the fellows also get opportunities with sideline coverage experience at the high school level and also at the collegiate level here at Old Dominion University. Additionally, get some experience at the professional level with opportunities to help with coverage with the Norfolk Admirals ECHL hockey team.
I think our presence on the sidelines is really exciting. We get to watch a lot of exciting sports and then also be available for athletes when they need us. One of the imaging modalities we use is sports and musculoskeletal ultrasound, which allows us to look at joints and tendons and help diagnose pathology right there in the clinic.
With our ultrasound curriculum, you'll feel confident utilizing ultrasound both diagnostically and for procedural purposes in your future practice.
Looking ahead and at the growth of our program, we are excited to have 2 fellows training with us right now. Some of the things that we're excited about are just expanding our clinics. We're interested in looking at developing a running medicine clinic with ODU, and I think really just trying to help provide the best care that we can in the community.